Welcome to the PrePost Film Review. I'm Matt Stevenson.
And I'm John Asquith, and you're listening to a little bonus episode of the PrePost Film Review today. Congratulations. We do these episodes, once a year, twice a year, depending on the festival, where we talk about our local film festival that we've been to, and today we're going to be talking about the 2016 London Film Festival, Matt, that you got to attend. So I guess you're going to fill us in on some of the highlights and the lowlights, if there are any.
Yeah, sure.
the lights, the bad lights. And I guess, you know, if some of these are eventually going to come out, that's always, you know, the big sort of question that we ask, especially if we really like something that our listeners can hopefully check out one day. Whether that, you might not know that anyway, but whatever.
Try and make some recommendations for people.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so what's off the top of your list here, Matt? Are you going in any particular order, or? No.
I guess I can sort of go through in terms of... I'll talk about the stuff that I like the most first, and then perhaps mention a few of the lesser films.
I think that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this festival is a little bit different for me this year, just in the sense that I didn't see as many films as I normally would. It sort of fell in a weird time for me when I wasn't around in London as often as I would have liked to be. So I only saw about 7 or 8 films, or 9 maybe, which compared to previous years is quite slim. So a lot of the films that I really wanted to see, or a lot of films that I was really excited about, I didn't get to. Which was a bit disappointing. So I'm sure there were other films at the festival that were perhaps better, or I would have liked to have been able to talk about that we can't. But I did see some good ones, so they weren't all disappointing.
Well, that's good.
I should also point out that I saw both Arrival and La La Land, which I won't talk about just because we're going to do full episodes on those and we'll dive into them.
Yes.
In separate podcasts. But I did manage to catch those two at the festival. But in terms of stuff we won't talk about in an individual episode, I don't think, probably my favourite thing that I saw was The Wailing, which is a Korean horror-ish kind of film. Like, it's not sort of hard horror, but it's got a sort of supernatural tinge to it. Kind of a police procedural with a supernatural tinge. And it sort of just follows in the tradition of recent Korean genre filmmaking, where you're never quite sure where it's going to go. Like they just have a great ability to subvert genres in interesting ways while sort of weirdly staying true to them, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And yeah, this is kind of another great example of that. It's quite a long film, like I think it's about 2.5 hours, so it's pretty epic. But I was really impressed by it. And just when I thought it had all sort of played out, and I was getting a little underwhelmed with where it was headed, it sort of pulls the rug out and goes in a different direction.
Interesting.
Which was really cool. Yeah.
You said it was horror-ish.
Yes.
So is it more of a drama, like with tinges of horror? Or would you recommend this for people that are into horror? Or
I'd definitely recommend it for people that are into horror. I'd also... I mean, it's not so much a drama, more of a thriller. So it's kind of like... There's a small town in somewhere in Korea that is... people start killing each other and themselves, like in very violent sort of ways. And so it starts off as kind of like a cop that is trying to figure out what the hell's going on, and slowly over the film you sort of start to realise that there might be a supernatural element to what's happening in the town, not just a bunch of crazy psychos.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not like super full on in terms of its horrific imagery, but there's you know, tones of that sort of stuff through it.
Cool.
But yeah, it's really worth checking out. Yeah, like I know it's getting a theatrical release in London in the coming months. I'm not sure about Australia, but I think it was quite a big success over in Korea, so it's sort of like one of the bigger export films. Actually, I think it might even be backed by like Warner Brothers or someone over here.
Yep.
Or Universal, one of the big studios. So it's likely that it'll be quite easy to find, I think.
Okay, cool. Well, that sounds good, and that in some way people will be able to see it probably.
Yeah, definitely
at some stage, which is really cool.
Actually, just looking now, which I wasn't even aware of when I watched it, but it's the same director that did The Chaser, which I don't know if have you seen that Korean film called The Chaser? That is another great Korean sort of. That is much more of like a thriller procedural about this woman that's kidnapped, and then the cop that's trying to find the kidnapper and rescue this girl. It's really great. Like again, for what it is, like it works really within the bounds of that kind of genre, but twists it in interesting ways. It's just a super solid thriller. So there are two recommendations for the price of one.
Yeah. Well, I was literally about to say exactly that. So well done. Cool, man. What's next on the old list?
Yeah, so probably my next favourite thing, and another one that's going to be super easy for people to see, was Nocturnal Animals, which is the second film by Tom Ford, who did A Single Man.
Yes.
Which I think, it's getting a pretty wide release here in London at the moment. I imagine it's the same back in Australia, given the cast, like Jake Gyllenhaal and Amy Adams. And
I believe so, yep.
But yeah, I really loved A Single Man, and this, to begin with, I sort of struggled with a little bit because it's very pulpy and sort of not what I expected. Given The Single Man was sort of cold, but it was sort of like a sadness to it that was really moving. Whereas this has got a cold clinicalness to it, but this weird sort of pulpy thriller that's also happening, one of the plot threads, which I sort of didn't expect. But the more the film went on, the more I sort of got in sync with its weird rhythms, and there's kind of this weird structure of narratives where there's three stories going at once. Like one the past, one's the present, and one's this kind of fictional book that the main character is reading, and the way Tom Ford kind of visually links the three narratives. As some could probably argue that it's a little on the nose at times, but I liked it. Like I liked the visual mirroring that he does. And by the end, I was sort of fascinated by what it was potentially trying to say, and I liked it a lot. Have you seen A Single Man, actually?
No, I haven't. I feel like I don't have much to add to this conversation.
Tough. Well, there's another recommendation, so another twofer for you. Go watch A Single Man.
Oh man, keep them coming.
And then go see Nocturnal Animals. I would actually, I just said we probably won't talk about these on the show in a full episode, but I would like to do a bonus episode on Nocturnal Animals if you get the chance to see it, because I think it is a little bit polarizing as well. Like a lot of people I spoke to coming out of the festival really, really disliked it. And I could have seen myself swinging in that direction under certain circumstances. Like I was unsure at the beginning which way I was going to go, and I ended up landing on really liking it, and it kind of stuck with me afterwards. Like even by the end, I wasn't 100% sure how much I liked it, but it's kind of one of those ones that I've just thought about over and over since seeing it.
Yeah.
So I think it could spur an interesting conversation if we did a little bonus ep or something on that.
Yeah, I definitely want to check it out.
So, but probably the film following that I liked the most, which I didn't completely love, but I thought was really strong, is A Monster Calls, which again is an easy one for people to see. I ended up seeing a lot of bigger, easier to find films this year. But that's the one by the director, I can't pronounce his name, that did The Impossible and Orphanage.
Oh, yes.
And who is doing the new Jurassic World sequel, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Juan Antonio Bayona or something, I think is how you pronounce it. I probably just embarrassed myself. So I was quite excited for this before the film festival. I don't know if you're very familiar with this film, John. Have you seen any trailers or anything?
No, I haven't.
I think the trailer, at least the first trailer, I'm not sure about the second, but the first trailer is very strong. And I feel like it's the kind of kids film that we like, in that it's dark and it deals with emotional issues that a lot of kids films would be too scared to tackle. And when I say kids film, that's probably the wrong term, because it's kind of aimed at that weird age between childhood and like teenage years, which is again a time that's sort of rarely dealt with in cinema. And I mean, it's not perfect. There's it's a bit CGI-y, and it kind of left me a bit cold at the beginning. It's kind of, I don't know how much you know about the story, but it's kind of about this boy who befriends a tree monster that lives on this hill behind his house. I think it's based on a famous book, actually. And the way it sort of panned out at the beginning, it wasn't really working for me. But the longer it went on, and I, again, sort of fell into the rhythms of it. And it's kind of like the tree has... I don't want to say too much, but the tree has these prophetic stories for the boy who's going through a traumatic experience with his mum, who's very ill. And the way the stories, when the tree tells the stories to the boy, they're visualized on screen in these like really amazingly hand animated sequences. So that it's like almost a third of the film is probably animated. Cool. And they're really, really cool. And once they start to like loop in and be relevant to the story, I really felt it was successful in that sense. And it just deals with things in such a mature way. Like there's no black and white lesson out of the film. It's just like you need to grow up and realize the world is grey kind of thing, which is like a really unique message, I think, for a film like this, but like very accurate and realistic for growing up kind of thing. So it's great. It's worth checking out. Like, again, it's not like a masterpiece, and I did have problems with it, but it was good. I liked it a lot.
Awesome. Yeah, that's very high on my list to see, actually.
Cool.
I had sort of forgotten about it, to be honest. But hearing you talk about that, I'm reminded. I haven't seen any of the trailers, but I was reading about it a while ago and was very keen to check it out. So that's cool, man. Yeah, that's on the top of the list for sure.
It is, though, to just like fair warning, it is a bit of a tough watch. You know, it's not. If anything, it could probably do with a bit of levity. Like it's very somber. Which, I mean, part of me likes, but then it is a bit... You do feel a bit pummeled by the end. So I would bear that in mind going in.
What do you got next on that little list of yours?
Well, I mean, they're probably the top three...
Okay, cool.
Or, you know, the best ones that I'll talk about here. I did also see A Voyage of Time, which is the Terrence Malick doco, which was made for IMAX.
Yes.
This was the longer cut with the Cate Blanchett narration, which is, I think, it adds an extra 30 minutes or something. Which is a bit of a mixed bag. Like, it's gorgeous. Like, what some of the most incredibly stunning visuals I've ever seen on a cinema screen. Like, just mind-blowing. But it's like Terrence Malick falling into a Terrence Malick hole of Terrence Malickness. You know, like, it's just ponderous, poetic stuff that Cate Blanchett is, like, saying over images of planets and nature. And, it kind of vaguely traces the... Well, not vaguely, it sort of draws a line from the creation of the, you know, universe to us. You know, like, how everything came about. But it's not like a documentary in the sense that you're given any sort of information or verbal explanations for things. It's just images and nebulous narration that is a bit wanky.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, it's almost worth watching just for the visuals. Like it is utterly stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to see this for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, I would almost recommend seeing the shorter cut on an IMAX screen because it's just, well, I don't know. I mean, it's you might miss some. I don't know what they've cut out, so I don't know what you would miss. But there's shots in this film that there was times when I didn't know what was CGI and what was real. And
yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Like, is it mostly like real stuff? Or?
Don't know. Like I assume a lot of the spacey weirdness is CGI, just because the way it's shot.
That makes sense.
It just couldn't be real. Though I imagine they probably use some real stuff in there. There's some very obviously CGI, not necessarily in a bad way, but when it traces history into like dinosaurs and stuff, obviously there's CGI used there, but with real landscapes and things, and then inserted CGI animals. Yeah. But then you get into sort of the more current stuff, and in particular like the aquatic things. So we're seeing like the sea life, which I think is mainly real, but oh man, like some of it is, I don't know how they shot it. Like there's things that if they exist, like blew my mind. You know, like that creatures like that are swimming around in the ocean. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds really cool. Yeah. I've keep saying this, but I'm very keen to see this. I think it's sort of in the wheelhouse of stuff. I mean, obviously you got to be in the mood for it.
Definitely.
But like just I love that kind of stuff when you're in the right mind space, thinking about the origins of life and space and all that sort of thing. It just very cool. Yeah, for sure. I mean, in the cinema that I was in, there was multiple people asleep throughout it. So like, you definitely need to be in the right mindset because it's super slow and meditative. Like it's not engaging in any way other than impressive visuals. And if you want to intellectually kind of grapple with what the narration is saying, but if you could just as easily sort of let it wash over you like a fucking beautiful screensaver on your laptop, you know, it's a tough one, but worth a watch, I think. Any other honourable mentions?
There were a couple of disappointments. So there was the Autopsy of Jane Doe, which is the new horror film from the director who I probably won't be able to pronounce his name. But he's the director that did Troll Hunter or Troll Hunters. If you've ever seen that, Troll Hunter. He's like Icelandic or something, I think. Probably not, and I'm probably just embarrassing myself. Anyway, so this is his new film, and it had some pretty good buzz going in, and it is basically sort of just about these two coroners who get this body, this Jane Doe, and they're doing like an autopsy on her, and the more they kind of literally peel back, and like the creepier and weirder things get, and it starts becoming like demonic and like the first thing they do is like cut her open and she bleeds like she's alive, even though she's been dead for like, you know, weeks or whatever when they found her, and it just gets weirder and weirder from there.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, but unfortunately it's not. It just, it really quickly sort of sinks into very cliched horror territory with sort of like spooky demons in the corridors of the morgue, and other dead bodies sort of like waking up out of the little, you know, trolley things that you put in the little freezer holes that the bodies go in. And it was just very disappointingly conventional and didn't sort of do anything new and unique. So it wasn't offensive or anything like that, but it was just very underwhelming. Which was surprising because the director was there and did a Q&A afterwards, and he seems like a really nice, humble guy. And the way he spoke about it and the things he spoke about wanting to do were not visible on screen, which is disappointing. Like, it just sort of failed in the execution, I think. And lots of like cheap jump scares and things like that are just, I don't know.
Not great.
No, not very great. And the other, I had actually just a disappointing run of horror films in general, which is a shame because feel like we talk about this with most festivals. There's often one horror film, it seems like, that we kind of stumble into, and it just
totally
is way better than we could have expected, like The Witch for last year, and I think It Follows the year before. So I was hoping to find something this year, but all the ones I saw were pretty, apart from The Wailing, but that I feel like that's a bit different and that's a bit bigger and more successful. But I did see a film called Creepy, which is a Japanese sort of horror-y thriller thing. Again, there'd been good buzz. I'm not really familiar with the director's work, but I think he has a reputation of making some really good films that people really respect. So I kind of had high hopes going in, but yeah, I don't know. It was just, it's very long, and it's kind of just about this cop that moves in next door to this weirdo who is a weirdo. And I mean, at the beginning, it's quite subtle and effective. I think, like, you're kind of unsure whether there's something off with him, or if he's just a little bit mentally unwell, and you should almost be sympathetic for him. And there's a really interesting sort of grey area there. But the further it goes along, the more it sort of just falls heavily into one camp. And the final act just goes so far into the absurd. Like, it lost all believability, which is so counter to what the first two acts. And for a long movie, like, you're sitting there for a long time with these people, and the first two acts are so slow and measured and realistic, and about these relationships and slowly kind of trying to unravel what's happening. And then the third act sort of just descends into absurdity, and not in like a fun way, just in like a dumb way, where all of a sudden it's just like, this is stupid now. Like, I don't believe anything that's happening. So yeah, I was disappointed by that.
Well, that's a shame.
It was a shame
for that one.
Yeah.
But there's some good recommendations in there and stuff that sounds like people should definitely check out.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is really good, and stuff that that most likely people will be able to see in some form or another.
I think so.
That's really good, and a few freebie recommendations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think if I have a regret of this festival, it is not seeing more obscure things, because that's sort of one of the joys of these festivals. And I kind of just, out of timing reasons, happened to fall into seeing mostly bigger releases. But, like you said, there was good stuff there, and hopefully that means listeners can actually watch some of this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing those little reviews with us, Matt.
Anytime.
And
my pleasure.
It's really appreciated by me and everyone listening. We'll hear from you next episode, whatever that might be, and we'll have another bonus episode for the London Film Festival next year, hopefully.
Hope so.
That would be cool.
Yep.
See you later.
Bye. I like it a lot. And I think, I know
so is it
getting a
like
release.
I know you said horror. Okay. What?
Sorry, what?
Yeah.